So today in our vintage sports file, we're starting a two-part series that talks about one of the strangest NHL rivalries of the mid-1970s. Now, we know the Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies, had a lot of enemies in the NHL, had big rivalries between Boston, Montreal, Toronto, but the California Golden Seals? Now, today we're going to be presenting narrated information that has been provided by a couple of blog pages. And the first one we're going to talk about an incident involving a player, a very decent skater, Mike Christie, in an incident on October 25th, 1974. Now, this comes from the Fangrave WordPress.com article from a few years back, and the request for the series comes directly from one of the followers of our channel called Dunn, D-O-N-E, not D-U-N-N. But it's a piece of history I completely forgot, but I'm more than happy to present it. Now, according to the Fangrave WordPress.com article, I'm just narrating here, Leon Stickel, the former NHL linesman, told me about this incident when I spoke to him several years ago, but didn't provide much detail, other than to say it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in all my years in professional hockey. That says a lot considering Leon has worked everywhere and during the most violent years of the pro hockey. Now, the 1970s Broad Street Bullies have become a stuff of folklore, but if you dig around, you will see they were no joke. They intimidated their way to 2 Stanley Cups by making no apologies and taking no prisoners. By the way, the Seals never retaliated for this incident or righted that particular wrong. The Seals had a couple of chances later this season, but they knew they were kidding themselves and they thought they were going to walk in the spectrum and get their pound of flesh back from the Bullies when they played less than 2 weeks later after this incident. They met twice more after that, once in California, once in Philly, and aside from a couple of standard scraps during a January 5th game, nothing really happened after the fact. Now, according to the page, there's no immediate event to display, just a few quotes and a blurb or two. Now, according to the Sporting News article from November 16th, 74, called Flyers Back in Form, Alley Fighting Experts. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers, accused last season of being more prize fighters than hockey players, spent much of summer pointing out that it took more than a few fights in the jaw to win the cup. Now, Flyers officials and fans pointed with justifiable pride to their team's 1-0 victory over the Boston Bruins in the 6th and final playoff game. The Flyers' victory in that decisive contest came on the strength of excellent hockey, with nary a threat of a fight. Just when some of us were convinced that the Flyers could win with fisticuffs, along comes a disgrace such as the October 25th brawl between the Flyers and the Seals in Oakland. The fight, which took nearly 40 minutes to break up, centered around the California penalty box, where defenseman Mike Christie, again a decent player, was the victim of a beating reportedly administered by the Flyers' triple threat of Orris Kinderchuk, ugly as fuck player, Bob Kelly, just as ugly as Orris, and of all people, the lost Carlson Don Selesky. Now, the incident was touched off after Christie and Kinderchuk had been escorted to the penalty box following a routine hockey fight. But when the veteran referee Brian Lewis gave Christie only a major for fighting and gave Kinderchuk both a major and a minor, the Flyers quickly ruined all the good they had done last spring in sticking to hockey to win the final Stanley Cup game. According to reports from several witnesses, Selesky went to the California penalty box and taunted Christie from the ice, apparently in an attempt to get Christie to come out of the box so that he might get an extra penalty. But while Christie was being entertained by Selesky, Kinderchuk made his way past the official score and climbed into the penalty box with Christie. He reportedly was joined there by Kelly, the other Bob Kelly, who most observers feel was the most active in the fighting that followed and left Christie with 2 puffy eyes and a need for 14 stitches around him. I knew who it was, said Christie. I never saw him, but I know who it was, but I'm not going to say anything. We have to go to Philly in a couple of weeks, and there's no point stirring anything up. Now, Munson Campbell, the new president of the Seals, wasn't afraid to possibly stir things up. We'll bring up the butchers, said Campbell. We'll meet them in the alley or down the ice. We have the big, tough players in our farm system who can come up here and take care of the Flyers. and you pretty well know what happened there. Now, Seals president Campbell, no relation to NHL President Clarence Campbell, felt it was up to the NHL boss to prevent further violence. It's up to Mr. Campbell whether we play hockey or Philadelphia-style shinny, said Campbell. Now, Clarence Campbell wasted no time suspending indefinitely pending a hearing Saleski and Kelly. The Flyers were notified by NHL officials that Saleski and Kelly were suspended for 6 games each, and Kinderchuk fined $300. This somehow enraged some of the Flyers. Team captain Bobby Clark, in a hockey column he wrote for a Philly newspaper, protested that the pair should not have been suspended without a hearing. Now, Flyers defenseman Tom Bladen, one of the few non-goons on the team, thought the whole thing was being blown out of proportion. It wouldn't have looked so bad if some of the Seals would have come out to help him out, said Bladen, who was a personal friend of Christie, but none of them seemed to be interested in helping him. It's pretty sad when a veteran like Jim Nielsen, what is he, 36, is the first to get there to help. Now, some observers reported that the Flyers on the ice appeared to be preventing the Seals from entering the penalty box to come to Christie's aid. Nielsen and the talented player Len Frigg finally broke through. By the time his game was over, referee Lewis had whistled and then NHL record 232 minutes in penalties, and Seals skated off with a surprising 4-1 victory. Ironically, suspensions of Zaleski and Kelly ended just in time for the Battlers to return to play the Seals again on November 10th, but the Flyers lost more than a hockey game that night. Now, this has been called the second worst fight on something called the top 10 all-time most beautiful Flyer incidents. Kevin Allen interviewed Lewis, and Lewis said even after Christie was escorted to the penalty box, he had no relief from his Flyers' assault. A gang of Flyers jumped him in the box, and a bewildered Christie was forced to fight them off like a U.S. Marine defending a foxhole. Jim Nielsen was the only California player to come directly to Christie's aid, and Bobby Clark said later, "That's it, let him get off the ice." The seas parted, and Christie was able to get off. Anyway, if you want another great link towards the Flyer Seals of Rivalry, go to goldenseals.hockey.com/page_ID equal 1937, and the bad blood will flow yet again. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Dunn for the request. If you like what you're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget, again, keep your stick in the ice. Bye.